500 to 700 miles, and that's what those lines are. Just like when you throw a giant rock in a pond and the water goes out, it actually created a mountain in the middle, just like when water comes back up from a rock. So that's 70 miles across. And the waviness you see is from the Earth's atmosphere. But you see how all the wash comes away from this crater, and that's because of the violence from this impact. And when we went to the moon, we collected rocks that came out of this crater. And you know what we discovered? We had found moon meteorites before. And those moon meteorites came from this collision. So that collision created so much energy that rocks from that collision hit the Earth. We measured the age of the rocks through radioactive decay. We can also measure the age of the features on the moon by looking at their surfaces and measuring their craters and how many craters are on top of other craters. Now, to put it in perspective, there are 300,000 plus craters on this side of the moon. The far side of the moon, we haven't counted them all. We're still doing missions to take better pictures, but it's above 500,000 moons. Gypsy, thank you for that. Tina, thanks for coming in. Thank you guys for the positive vibes. Follow my moderators. They all do wonderful things. They keep order in here. It gets a little crazy at times, and I get lost looking at the moon. So it's okay to just get lost looking at the moon. You don't have to ask a question. You can just enjoy the view. You're most welcome. I'm in Denver, Colorado. I'm using a Celestron C8. This is not my moon. It's not your moon. It's everybody's moon. So take a picture of it. Create a Snapchat, or not a Snapchat, a TikTok with it, and share it with others. It's our moon. Enjoy it. Thank you for the likes and the follows. I appreciate you all coming in to look at the moon with me. The largest crater is actually in the South Pole, and it's not a crater you can see with an earthbound telescope very well because it's over the south, and it's 200 miles across, where Copernicus, which is in the bottom part of this screen, is 53 miles across. Imagine a crater 4.5 times the size of this crater here. I know we've been to the moon. There's more evidence about the moon landings than there is about George Washington. I mean, there's just mountains of evidence. But people can believe what they want to believe. So this is the Copernicus crater. This is 53 miles across, 3.5 miles deep. And again, you can see the ejected material that came out. Isn't it beautiful? If I don't answer everybody's questions, you can always go to my TikToks and ask me a question there. I will answer your comments. It's what I do. I love to teach. I'm an astronomy teacher. I'm a computer nerd and adjunct astronomy teacher by night. I want to thank you all for coming in and enjoying this. This is a beautiful picture. Take a screen capture of this. This is Copernicus crater. It's named for the man who put the sun in the center of the solar system instead of the Earth. He's one of the forefathers of modern astronomy. Isn't it absolutely stunning? I just love this view. The moon was created when a object the size of Mars hit the Earth. It was called Theia, and Theia blew her crust off Earth's crust. They intermingled, and what was left over that didn't fall back to the Earth formed the Earth's moon. It was the luckiest collision mankind has ever had. Not only does the moon create tides for us, believe it or not, the moon's gravity is so strong on the Earth's crust on the side the moon is on moves 1 centimeter. It's not a lot, but it's something, and we've measured it. It moves 1 centimeter towards the moon. So the Earth's crust is tidal with the moon. Not a lot, but it's 1 centimeter closer. Sarah, welcome in. I want to welcome in. How is it so round? Well, all the planets, the sun is almost perfectly round. The bigger you are, the more round you get, because gravity pulls in everything inward. So a circle, a sphere, is the best shape for gravity because it wants to pull matter closer and closer together. And that's why everything is circles. And the bigger you are, the more circular and spherical you are. So here's a cool fact about the moon. So the moon looks like these two dark regions, the Sea of Tranquility and the Sea of Serenity, are facing up on the moon right now. If you go outside and look at the moon, those are straight up on the top of the moon. But if you go to Australia, it's upside down. Do you know why the moon appears upside down in the southern hemisphere when you cross the equator? Because the Earth is a sphere and you're standing upside down, or right side up, depending on your point of view. But you're upside down, and now the moon is like you're standing on your head. So if you're in Australia, like you are there, Gene, the moon is upside down. When you're looking at it right now, you're like, hey, the moon's the other way around. Yeah, it is when you're below the equator. No, the far side of the moon never faces the Earth because the moon spins at the same speed it orbits the Earth. And that's because the moon's gravity and the Earth's gravity tug each other so much that face can't turn away. It's stuck. Well, what happens if you're on the equator? It will flip-flop. Most of the time it's right side up, but sometimes it's the other way. It's really freaky. I've been to the equator to experience that, and it was upside down the entire time I was on the equator. Thank you for the roses. Thank you for coming in and enjoying the moon with me. I hope you're having a good time checking out the moon through a telescope. Well, the moon itself does not flip upside down and right side up. There's only one moon. It's your perspective changes depending on where you are in the Earth. And that's how we know the Earth is round and the size of the Earth. So most people think it took modern science to figure out the size of the Earth. The Greeks in the BC, like 700 BC, had figured out the size of the Earth and knew it was round and had figured out the size of it. It's actually pretty easy to calculate the size of the Earth. So we have to give our ancestors credit and props for what they discovered. So that's why I don't deal with the hate of, oh, the moon is this, or oh, the Earth is flat. That flat Earth came around in the 1950s as a conspiracy story. But when the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Greeks 3,000 years knew the size of the Earth. Yeah, it's pretty easy to calculate. We got to give our ancestors credit for what they did. We're here because of them. This is a place for positivity. Hello, welcome in everybody. I'm having a good time looking at the moon, are you? This is a live view of the moon. Now, a full moon is different to look at than first quarter. First quarter is my favorite moon because you can see the shadows in the craters. Go to my TikTok pages and you can see the Apenius Mountains, and they're absolutely stunning. They disappear in this view because of how bright the moon is, and there's no shadows because the sun is directly, it's like high noon on the moon right now, and that's what we're looking at. I want to thank you all for coming in and looking at the moon with me. I hope you're having a good... Thank you. I think you're all very cool and awesome. I'm so glad I can share my telescope and the moon with you all. This is Tycho Crater again. This is a beautiful picture. Actually, I don't think there's a bad picture of the moon. Wait, I can think of one bad picture of the moon. No picture of the moon. You can swipe the comments away and take a picture of the moon. Follow my moderators. They do great work. A lot of them are astronomers or astrologers. Astronomy and astrologers can get along. We can all get along. It's just called respect. Yes, take screen captures of these. You know, the moon is meant to be shared. Isn't it just breathtakingly pretty tonight? If you create a TikTok from your screen shares, tag me. I want to see what you did. It's not my moon. It may be my telescope, but it's your moon. It's your picture. So take a picture of it. Make a TikTok. Amaze me, because you will. Some people have done some really cool things with screen captures and video captures of my lives. And I'm always honored and privileged to share this with you. The moon has been through a lot. But if you think the moon has been through a lot, the Earth had 6 times more collisions than the moon. We're bigger. We're a bigger target. We have stronger gravity. But we have water, active volcanoes, plate tectonics, so we erase the scars. The moon doesn't. The moon doesn't get struck by asteroids very often, but it gets struck by something the size of a basketball at least once a month. It gets struck by sand and dust continuously. There's not a lot of stuff left in the solar system to hit each other. It's just when it does, it's very violent. Are items that crashed into the moon still there? Well, the matter is there, but let's say you crash your car into the moon, you would be doing 40,000 miles an hour and you hit a rock. Your car is still there in vapor, but your car's not there, if that makes sense. I hope everybody's having a good time looking at it. Hi, Moon Lady. Thank you all for the likes. 50,000 likes. Thank you so much. I hope you're having a good time. Little queen, why we look at the moon. Isn't she gorgeous? What do you mean vapor? Well, if you heat anything up hot enough, it turns into a gas. You know, if you take iron and heat it hot enough, it'll vaporize and become a gas. You know, aluminum, So if you ever saw pictures of the space shuttle taking off, those solid rocket boosters, they were aluminum, the fuel, because aluminum is quite flammable at a certain temperature. So anything can vaporize at the right temperature. I have never seen anything odd. I am waiting for something odd. It's 30 years and I have not seen a UFO. I have never seen anything odd. I've investigated a lot and been able to explain to people what's out there, but I have never seen anything myself. Yes, the bright side of the moon is anywhere from 150 to 250 degrees. The dark side, whatever's night is on the moon, it's 250 to 300 degrees below zero. What makes the craters glow? The newer craters are whiter. They're not white. They're just whiter compared to the surrounding areas because they were recently impacted. And when an impactor comes in, imagine a rock coming in at 35,000 miles an hour, 40,000 miles an hour. When it hits the moon's surface, it shocks the rocks that it hit, and a lot of them turn into glass, sand, or they turn into shock quartz. And those things are more reflective than the areas that have been degraded by the sun over millions of years. So the whiter the crater, usually the newer the crater, because it's the shock quartz and sand that's generated in those violent collisions. No, the dark side is not always dark. So the far side of the moon we never see. But it's not always dark. We can't see it right now, but it's dark. In 2 weeks, the near side of the moon is dark and the far side of the moon is bright. I don't know how big the gold nuggets on the moon is, but we know there's gold there. We know there's water there. It has a lot of the same components as the Earth's crust. What's also really good about the moon from a mining perspective, you're not going to kill any native bacterias or spotted owls when you mine, because nothing can live on the moon. There's no atmosphere on the moon. And there's also a lot of metals in its crust, like lithium for lithium-ion batteries, titanium. A lot of metals exist in its crust that we can easily get access to. So this is a chance for you to take screen capture of the moon. Yes, Mars has 2 moons, Deimos and Phobos. And those moons are itty-bitty tiny little asteroids smaller than the island of Manhattan, to put it in perspective. The stories that it rings like a bell is stories. There's no reality to that. There's also stories that Buzz Aldrin said we didn't land on the moon. That's not what he said. He said the live feed was interrupted with the networks putting in graphics so people wouldn't be bored. So people will take what they want out of a conversation, just like if you say something in a long paragraph and somebody takes 3 words out of context, it sounds like you said something completely different than you said. There is no sound in space. Sound waves do not travel through empty space. Light does. Sound doesn't. Well, it's hotter on the surface with no atmosphere because there's no atmosphere to protect it from the ultraviolet and the infrared light. So the surface heats up very quickly. But 3 or 4 hours after dusk settles on the moon that was 150 to 200 degrees, it's now 200 degrees below zero in the dark. And there's craters in the southern and northern regions that never see the light of day, and it's 350 degrees below zero. What an atmosphere does for a planet, it creates a greenhouse effect, is what we call it. And it's effect of storing heat and distributing heat evenly. So the Earth's atmosphere takes the sun's heat. That's why the Earth doesn't, as soon as the sun hits, it doesn't go from 32 degrees here in Denver at night to 150 degrees, because the atmosphere warms up. And when the sun sets, the heat from the atmosphere slowly distributes back out to space slowly. And the speed at which it does that determines the average temperature of the planet. So the thicker the atmosphere, the hotter the world, like Venus. Or Mars with no atmosphere, it does the same thing. It's very warm in the sun, but you get to night and it's very cold. Well, everyone, I want to thank you for coming in and looking at the moon. I am getting cold here. I've been doing this for a couple hours. I can't thank you enough for coming in and joining me looking at the moon. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for coming in and enjoying the beautiful moon together. Remember, we have enough hate on Earth. We don't need it in space. Thanks, my moderators. All of you say something. Follow my moderators. They all do a fabulous job. I could not do this without them. Thank you, moderators. Each and every one of you, I adore you, and I consider you all friends. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And what I always do when I'm turning off my live, peace, love, and taco grease, everybody. Enjoy, clear